Hello everyone and welcome back to Chanakya Online Companion. In today's video, we will have a detailed explanation of the chapter The Flower, Class 9 ICSE. Basically, this is the structure of a bisexual flower. Any flower which has the two sexes, that is the male and the female part. Now let us just label the parts of this and we will discuss which are the male and the female parts. Firstly, this one. This part is called sepal. In most cases, you will see that the sepals are green in color. Sometimes it may be colorful also. It is collectively known as calyx. Means simply, if you see this part, this is known as sepal, but 1, 2, 3, these three are called calyx. This is known as stalk. This stem type, it is known as stalk. This one is called receptacle. Alright, then this is the second hole. The first hole is the sepal. This part is the second hole. What is the name of the second hole? That is called petals. Simply, you would see varieties of roses. Some are red, some are yellow, some are orange, and various colors that you would not even expect. And there are many other flowers of different colors. So what is this color? This color is actually the petal. And these colors are colors, not only one. So petals can be collectively called corolla. Now let's see. This is the female part. Without a female part, how will a flower reproduce? And without this, how will the varieties be formed? So this is the female part. This part is called stigma. And this is the style. It has its name as style. Next we have ovary. Inside the ovary is contained ovule. So basically, the pollen grains from the male part comes on the stigma and through the style it reaches the ovary finally to the ovule. Now, which is the male part? Of course, this one. This part is called anther. And this part is called filament. So these collectively are called stamens. And a proper name, biological name for these is androecium. Same is the case with the female part, that we cannot just call the other parts in the same way. We need a proper name for these. This part is called pistil. Or say these all are collectively called pistil. The biological name for the female part is gynoecium. Alright, so we studied what are the parts. This is the anther. In this, there are various pollen grains. In junior classes, your teachers must have taught you. So the pollen grains fall on the stigma and thus the reproduction occurs. So let us move further to discuss about the first hole. As I said earlier, the first hole is sepal, collectively called calyx. There are 4 conditions whenever you see a calyx that may be free like this. Usual condition, if you see from top view, it may look like this. So this is the condition when the sepals are free. And this condition is called polysepalous. Polysepalous. Sepalous is for sepal. Next is gamosepalous. Now you might have seen in hibiscus what happens, that the structure is somewhat like this. Structure of sepal. So what would you say this? Here these are free, but here they are united. Gamo means actually united or together. So whenever you see a condition where the sepals are united, that is called gamosepalous. Again, gamo for united and sepalous is used for sepal. In some flowers, there may be a condition when the sepals are colored. When the sepals are colored. Now this condition is called petaloid. Let's see the last condition. The last condition is epicalyx. You must have seen in some flowers there are various structures like this. So whenever you see the second series of calyx, epi, the second series of calyx, then this condition will be called epicalyx. Now what is the function of sepal? What is the function of sepal? It protects the flower at the bud stage, and whenever it is green, it performs photosynthesis. The second whole, it is called petal, and the collective term for this is corolla. Alright, so just in the same case, like as we discussed, there are polysepalous. Here also, whenever the petals are free, poly, then they are polypetalous. Just learn it right now. Now an example for this may be rose. Rose is both polysepalous and polypetalous. The gamopetalous. Gamo means fused together or united, as we discussed earlier also. So gamo and petalous for petal. Now an example of this may be elderberry flowers. Search it on the internet and you will get the pictures of it. Next is perianth. So in this case, in this special case, the sepals and petals cannot be distinguished. You cannot say whether they are petal or they are sepal. So the condition in which the sepals and petals are fused together is called perianth. An example for this may be the flower called lily, and onion is also an example. What is the function of petal? Petal actually protects the stamen and pistil. Another function is to attract insects for pollination. Let us discuss the third whole, androecium. So the third whole is stamen, and the collective term for this is androecium. Androecium is the male part of a flower, and it consists of two parts, or say it can be further subdivided into two parts, anther and filament. So the filament is the structure which keeps the position of anther. So just remember, anther is on top and filament at the bottom, like this. Now it produces pollen grains in the pollen sacs of anther. There are only two conditions in this. You are supposed to learn these conditions, very much probable. See, you have been seeing the term poly so many times, but what does this mean? This means several actually. Several means more than two, more than three, and all those things. So whenever you say that polyandrous, androus for androecium, several, here it means open, free. So in this case it means free. Whenever the androecium is free, a structure may be like this, then it is called polyandrous. Now the next condition, when these are united, the monodelephous, mono means single, di means two, poly means several, isn't it? So simply monodelephous, whenever they are united in a single group. Whenever you can see the structures like this, so many androecium in just one group, Monoadelphous. An example for this may be China rose. So you must have seen the structure of China rose, the stamen on it, right? So they are all just united in just one group, that is monoadelphous condition. Next is diadelphous. This condition is in peas when they are united in more than one group, maybe like this. Now when we talk about polyadelphous, means several, united in several bundles, groups. So this condition occurs in bombax. So I don't need to draw these. The simple thing will be that here it will contain more groups and several as it can usually. Okay, so example for polyandrous may be petunia. This is the name of a flower, of course. Now let's see this structure. When we talk about the male part, it simply does not mean any structure like sepal or petal, right? So there will be something more. As here the anther, zoom this part, you will see this structure, that this is the anther, of course this is anther and this is the filament, and here the connection is made. So this is connective. Now see, mainly there are 4 sacs. What occurs like 4 sacs means bundles, 4 bundles. Here it seems somewhat like this, divided 1, 2, 3 and 4. So here also you can see the same thing. Now these dot-like structures are pollen grains. The pollen grains are contained in the pollen sacs of the anther of the androecium. Alright, so the 4th hole called pistil, and the collective term for this is gynoecium. Now you are learning the word poly. It means several. Here the apocarpus is the condition when the carpels are free. So you have learned polyandrous, polypetalous, right? So that means free. But here something different is. You see the word apo. Apo simply means away from. And carpus, carpel, for carpel. Pistil is also known as carpel. The word carpel. Next thing is syncarpus. Now can you think what is the meaning of syn? As you learned, gamo. It also means that seems to be together or united. So whenever they are together, then you can use this word syn, and carpus for simply carpel. Alright, so learn these terms. This is the, actually in gynoecium you are getting different terms other than that which you saw in androecium, stamen and petal. So the basic structure of syncarpus is this. Now there are 3 conditions. Now it can be of 3 types: monocarpellary, bicarpellary and polycarpellary. The first condition, when the carpels are united in only one group, it is called monocarpellary. When the carpels are united in 2 groups, it is called bicarpellary. In the last condition, more than 2 carpels are united in one group. These are the different conditions actually. So what happens in bract? Whenever any flower arises in the axil of a leaf-like structure, you may see that this leaf-like structure may be colorful, and you may actually call it as this is the flower, but no, there is no such case. Like in bougainvillea, this structure seems to many people that it is the flower, but the flower is actually inside this. It arises from the axil of this leaf-like structure. So this is a bract. What are nectaries actually? So there is a condition. What do flowers do, that they produce nectar. Nectar really in the base of the pistils. At the base of the pistils, this nectar is produced so that the insects could be attracted for cross-pollination. So simply in those flowers where you would rarely see the androecium, means the female part is there but the male part is not there. So when the female part is there, it will produce nectar, and the group which secretes this nectar are called nectaries. Now an example of this may be the nasturtium flower. So simply, N for nectaries, nectar, nasturtium. And here B for bract, B for bougainvillea. Let us discuss more about the flower. Okay, so these are the terms that we are going to discuss right now. First is essential and non-essential parts. The essential and non-essential parts of a flower. Actually, the reproductive parts are the essential parts. Means that androecium and gynoecium are essential parts. What are the non-essential parts? Just like petals and sepals. So these are the non-essential parts, or say the non-reproductive part of a flower is called non-essential parts. Next one is complete, incomplete and neuter. A complete flower contains all of the four wholes: the sepals, petals, androecium and gynoecium. For example, rose. As in the flower, you can see all of the four wholes are present. An example of incomplete flower may be grass. Any flower where the parts are incomplete, that means that there are not four wholes. Any of them is missing. Now what does it mean by neuter flower? Neuter flower simply means any flower which is missing its essential parts. Neither the male nor the reproductive part is present on these plants. Next is hermaphrodite. This term actually means that both the sexes, the male and the female parts. So when the male and the female parts are present on a plant together, then that plant is called hermaphrodite plant. What are bisexual and unisexual? Bisexual means two sexes, where unisexual means only one sex. Now here, bisexual flower, an example of bisexual flower is, as always, you can say the rose. So it contains both male and female parts, androecium and gynoecium. Whereas unisexual means either the androecium or the gynoecium. So there may be a condition that they could contain the stamen. Stamen is the androecium, or say male part. So when the male part is present, then the flower is called staminate flower. And when the female part is present, then it is called pistillate flower. Simply, if pistil is not present and the stamen is present, then it is staminate, whereas if pistil is present, staminate is not present, then it is called pistillate. As we discussed earlier, perianth, when the sepals and petals are fused together, they are called perianth. Now there could be two conditions there, like if it seems that it is sepal, if the fused together sepal and petal seem that it is sepal, then you will call it a sepaloid, and when it seems that it is a petal, then you will call it as petaloid. Now what is placenta? Placenta is the tissue
which attaches the ovule to the wall of the ovary.
The manner in which the ovules are arranged on the wall of an ovary is called placentation. Inflorescence. What is inflorescence? There are various kinds of flowers. Some you can see that some have like this structure. Some structures maybe somewhat like the flowers are in this condition. In some conditions, the flower may be simply here. In some conditions, you could see a lot of leaves, and from here 3 more roots in here. So the way of arrangement of flowers on the axil of a plant is called inflorescence. What do you mean by these three terms? First one is hypogynous, perigynous, epigynous. Now these terms are related to the position of the ovule and the thalamus. Now let's see what could be like. Suppose this is the ovary, and this is the thalamus, the receptacle you must have seen. So when this is the thalamus. Now suppose this is the thalamus and the structure of ovary is somewhat like this, that it is on the highest position, highest position, then it will be hypogynous. Now next condition, perigynous. When the thalamus will form a cup shape, then this condition will be termed as perigynous. Peri simply means not too up, not too down. Epigynous. This second one is perigynous and the third one is epigynous. Epi means simply when the condition is here कि thalamus is just like this. The position of ovary is at the lowest most position. Okay? Hopefully you would have understood this chapter. But if still you have any kind of problem, we are waiting for you in the comment section. Consider subscribing to our channel and liking the videos. Thank you so much.